Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jacob Elyachar Podcast. My name is Jacob Elyachar, and I'm the chief content producer and writer of jakestick.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Now, before we get started with this podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel. But if you're listening to our audio versions, please give us a 5-star review and please subscribe. It would be awesome. So it is episode 170, 170. And today I'm welcoming this fabulous comedian. He has appeared on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, Comedy Central's this week at the Comedy Cellar, and Netflix's lliza Schlesinger Sketch Show. He has as of this recording, over 80,200 Instagram followers and 405,000 TikTok followers. So please let me welcome Eric Newman.
That was a great intro, Jake. Thanks. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome, Eric. You are a rising star in comedy. I'm very excited to be talking with you.
Thanks, man. Same here. I really appreciate the opportunity. I was reading up about the podcast a bit, and it seems like you're doing some awesome things, and I'm really thrilled that you included me in it. So thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. So let's get started with this conversation. So, Eric, when did you get interested in comedy, and how did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in the entertainment industry?
Well, it's actually interesting because I think I've been talking to a bunch of friends about this recently. Like, for so long, you don't even think it's possible to, I grew up watching like George Carlin specials, and really I had access to comedy-wise when I was growing up was just like specials on HBO, and Netflix hadn't existed yet, and all that. So all you know is the guys like Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle, the guys who put out a special once every 2 years. And that's pretty much all you know about comedy. And then you know that there are open mics, and which are terrible conditions for any new comedian, but very, very necessary to sort of developing your skills and growth. So for a really long time in comedy, I started in 2008. I was 20 years old. I was in college. And, for many, many years, I was doing terrible bar shows, terrible open mics with really no money at all. I mean, I was losing money probably my first 5 years in comedy. And not only are you not making any money, you also don't even see how you could make money. Like that's sort of the most daunting part about the whole thing is at least if you know a way to find money or make money, you could be like, all right, I'll try to sort of lead down that path. But even that it's so far away from you, can't even understand it. And so you really focus on all the right things, which are just get better on stage, become a better joke writer, have better stage presence, from show to show. And then, all of a sudden you start, as you get better, opportunities start presenting themselves. And that's when you go, oh, wow, like, I guess I can make some money off of this. And so I remember for me personally, I had started when I was 20. And around 25, 26, I started to realize like, oh, I guess you can make some money off of this. And then by the time I was in my late 20s, is where I started to go, oh, this is going to be my source of income. But it's a long road there. And it's a road I'm still going down. And I think you never stop going down it to some extent. But yeah, I feel very fortunate, man. It's been a really, really hard fought battle, and a lot of hard fighting to go, but I'm feeling good, finally starting to feel like pretty good about things, and just going to keep working harder and smarter as I go.
And that's incredible. And I definitely understand with the stand-up comedy losing that. Like, I'm just amazed. 5 years of lost income.
Yeah. And no complaints because money shouldn't be a factor. I can't speak for everybody's financial situation. People have different responsibilities. I was fortunate enough that when I started, I had, no real financial responsibilities. And to be honest with you, I don't have many now. I'm not married. I don't have children, whatever. So, maybe it's easy for you to say, Eric, kind of thing. But you need to dedicate a good amount of time to the craft. And if you're too worried about money at first, you're going to make some of the wrong creative decisions to make money. And my decisions were strictly from a how will this make me better perspective for many, many, many years. And now, as I've gotten older, now I'm starting to think about, okay, like, you know, what's going to make me money also, right? Money is definitely a much bigger factor at 34 years old than it was at 20 for me. Because now I'm starting to plan my life and everything. But I mean, there's no way around it. You have to put in the work. And no matter when you start, there's really no getting around that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just, you know, I feel fortunate.
I think I'm kind of in the same situation that you are. The 30, I can't believe we're both, I'm turning 34 in September. So I definitely, and I've started this in my 20s. So it's just amazing to see how far we both have gone.
And you know, Jake, that, you know, it's a very hard, long road. And you know, this business is certainly not for the faint of heart. It's a really tough, grueling business that just sort of keeps punching you, even when you're down. So you know, I think one of the things that's really helped me and helped me in life. I mean, it's not only being on stage has helped me so much off stage, and vice versa, because I think just like I was always a very, very sensitive person. And things really affected me greatly. Things that didn't affect a lot of, I think I was always very in touch with my emotions, more than I think a lot of people that I was around. And I think that was a good and bad thing. But I think what I needed more than anything was to really get a lot of punches in the face. And with comedy, they never seem to stop. And I appreciate them. And when I get punched in the face, it hurts like crazy. And the second I heal, I go, thank you, because I needed it. So that's sort of an invaluable lesson that I think a lot of people overlook when in a business like this. You know, any challenge, anything that I feel like I'm just not good enough at, I need to get punched in the face to get better at. So I'm actually like, I've learned to sort of, and again, don't get me wrong, 2 hours ago I was upset about something that's probably not even a big deal, but it just affected me. But I do have a way of bouncing back, and I do think that that's probably the pivotal quality in this business that you need, and it's probably the small, subtle thing that's the difference maker between those who stay in it and those who don't, is the ability to bounce back.
We have to bounce back in our industry no matter what. And I definitely agree with you on that I can get wind up at times and stuff it takes a while to get me down. And luckily I have friends and family to say, to bring me back down to earth just in case I get on it, just in case I become a whirling dervish.
And that's the best thing, is that you got to sort of surround yourself with people who will tell you, who would say it to you straight, and for better or worse, you know, who will be there to like sort of uplift you when you're really down, and who will be there to bring you down when you're too lifted. And I think those people are the difference maker in your life, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. So speaking of difference makers, let's get back to our conversation. In February this year, you made your late night debut on the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. What did it mean to you when a producer said, "Hey, we want to have you do some stand up on the legendary NBC late night show"?
I mean, I can't think of a better word than everything. I mean, I had wanted to do a spot on late night, specifically on the Tonight Show. You know, all the other late night shows are great, but I know the vast and lengthy history of the Tonight Show and how much it meant to so many generations, and like that was the one I really wanted. And it was funny, Jake, like people throughout the years had asked me, they're like, well, are you ever going to do late night? Are you ever going to do late night? Have you ever submitted to it? Have you ever whatever? And I truthfully had never submitted to it. And they go, well, why not? Why wouldn't you submit? And anybody who knows me knows I'm a person who goes for it and who takes shots. And I hadn't ever submitted to late night. And when people ask me why not, every time I gave them the same answer. I was like, because they know who they want. And even that didn't make so much. That's the answer I gave. And then I thought about it. I go, yeah, but why am I handling this one differently than I would handle anything else? Like if I think of, if I meet a girl at a party and I think she's really pretty and we hit it off, I'm going to ask her out. So why now am I so reserved when it comes to late night? I couldn't entirely figure it out. And finally I was like, I've been doing this 13 years. I'm like, I'm a regular at the Comedy Cellar, which is, I think in most people's eyes, the best comedy club in the world. I've done 2 albums. I've got a few hours of material. Why wouldn't I at least try it? And finally I went, you know what? I contacted a friend. One day it just sort of, I was like, I'll try it. I contacted a friend who had already done Jimmy Fallon and said, hey, will you recommend me to this? And she was like, absolutely. And so she contacted the booker and she said, hey, I highly recommend Eric Newman. And she gave me the booker's email. And I sent an email and said, hey, you spoke with so-and-so. I know we don't know each other very well, but, I'm a huge fan of the show, and it would really be my dream to make my late night debut on The Tonight Show. And he goes, well, send a tape. And this is a guy who gets submissions, I don't know. If I had to put a number on it, maybe it's 10,000 times a month. I don't even know.
Believe me, I get pitched a lot with recording artists. It gets a lot, and it is coming from someone that has booked guests. It's a very lengthy process.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure people want to be on your pod all the time, and you have to make those decisions. You have to, as a business owner, which is what you are, you have to do what's best for your business. And so I sent him, and he said, send me tape. And I recorded it at the Comedy Cellar, the tape, and I sent it to him. And he goes, really funny stuff. You can't do this joke. You can't do that joke. I sent him another tape, and he was basically like, send me the transcript for this. I sent the transcript. 2 days later, you're approved. We'll get you a date. I waited about a month. And then the day before I was on Jimmy Fallon, I got an email, can you be ready tomorrow? And I borrowed a suit because I didn't have one that was appropriate for the show. And I barely could get enough friends in to meet my guest maximum because people had to get COVID rapid tests quickly and within 24-hour period, turn them around and blah, blah, blah. And so I was able to bring 4 people, and I only ended up bringing 2 because I couldn't even get it was so quick, the turnaround. But I got my set ready, and I did it, and I felt great about it. And it was probably the most exhilarating thing I've ever experienced to this day. And I'm just so glad I did it. I mean, I really, and obviously we don't know each other that well yet, but I'm a person who really, I can't, and I know a lot of people are like this, but I think I can only speak for me. I really am so focused on the next thing, I sometimes forget to do the thing I'm doing and forget to enjoy the thing I'm actually doing. And I said to myself, I was like, beforehand, I was like, you owe it to yourself to really be there in the moment while this is happening. And I felt, so many things I've done that were probably so enjoyable in life, I was just sort of not there. I wasn't even there for them. And I made sure I was there for that. And I was enjoying and I was feeling the laughs, really feeling them. And then I said, you could go back to all your like horse shit anxiety after this, or, but while you're doing this for that 5 minutes, you're going to enjoy this. And I made sure I did. And then afterwards, it just sort of, I was flooded with emotion and, oh my God, how is that going to look on TV? Is that really as good as I thought it was going to be? Is that going to look as good to people as it felt to me? And blah, blah, blah. I worried about all that shit the second it was done. But while I was there on stage at Fallon, I was like, I'm having a blast. And yeah, it was great. And I can't thank Michael Cox, who's the booker of Fallon, enough. I mean, he'll forever be the first person who let me do stand-up on TV and on a huge platform. And I'm so appreciative. I really am.
I'm glad you took that moment because not a lot of people said they walked on into Studio 6A or Studio 6A. They did not and see the Roots, have the Roots write them in, or have Jimmy Fallon introduce them. You just joined a group of people that have been part of this legacy. I'm thinking about all the greats that went on that stage, no matter if they're Carson's era, like the legends like Ellen or Roseanne, or even Eddie Murphy, and who've done, and of course David Letterman himself, and up to now, and they've all done incredible things.
Yeah, and I really, I appreciate you saying that, Jake, and I had been, and people always ask me, they go, and I'm a very naturally anxious person, something I've really had to work hard at over the years. And people keep asking me, were you nervous? Like, I wasn't that nervous. I had felt, we've all gone on interviews in our lives where we felt I'm qualified for this, I'm overqualified for this, or I'm going to fake being qualified for this. And the most nervous I always was on interviews, internships, out of college, whatever, was when I felt like I was faking being qualified. Because I felt like I wasn't being genuine. I remember there were a couple interviews I went on where I was like, I'm just going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. And those are the ones I was always nervous for because I felt like I wasn't prepared. I wasn't actually qualified for the position I was interviewing for. And Fallon was one of the few things in my life where I went, there's nothing to worry about because I'm overqualified. Because I've been working at it for 13 years already, 14 years. So even though it's the highest stakes ever, I never allowed the thought to enter my mind of what if this doesn't go well? I never allowed that thought. Whenever that thought was coming close, I just swatted it away because there is no what if this doesn't go well. You have been training for this for 14 years. It needs to go well. And that's it. And so I'm really happy. And I couldn't sort of believe, Fallon pulled me out of the studio afterwards and said like, oh my God, you were great. Like, and then the warm-up act who was so nice. He was like, a lot of comedians don't do this well on the show. And then Vulture, which is a publication that has shown me no love in the past at all, wrote this amazing article about how my set was like the second best moment late night that week. And then Billie Eilish was third. I was like, it was just such a crazy thing, Jake. I was really blown away and so like flattered by the feedback. And I just realized that all those years that I thought I deserved it or should have had it, I shouldn't have gotten. I got it at the time I should have gotten. And I think that's one of those things in stand-up or in any similar field that I think we need to really take seriously and take away is that, like, you should get things after you're ready for them. That's better.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, in addition to Jimmy, in addition to Vulture, you also have had a lot of people have praised you or given you chances. Comedy Central's this week at the Comedy Cellar, and of course Netflix's Schlesinger Sketch Show, the production teams behind that. So how did those experiences help you grow as a performer?
I think I spent so much time not getting anything, and that was either TV work, money. I was really just a guy who I was in the clubs, I was at the comedy clubs, I was grinding away, I was writing new jokes, and I sort of became okay with that. I said to myself, like, at some point, you want all these things. You see people around you getting things, you want them, you're jealous. I deserve it better than they do, blah, 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 the whole thing. And then I started to say, what are you doing here? Like, if you go down that path, you'll spend your whole career miserable and bitter. And that's not what we're doing here. We're here to become the best comedian we could become. And that's why we're here. And so I sort of decided, like, I'm just going to keep writing jokes and become as good as I can be. And that's my goal. And then it seemed like once I stopped caring as much about these things, they started to come a little bit more to the forefront. The Comedy Central thing came. I was regular then at the Comedy Cellar for about a year, and they put me on that show. The lliza Schlesinger show came because Gail Keller, who's the casting director of that show, had casted Amy Schumer's show and Louis C.K.'s show and a lot of the Judd Apatow New York projects and a lot of big comedians projects, and saw me audition for those, and I didn't get them. But then when the role came up, she thought of me and she shot me an email and she made me an offer right away, and I didn't even have to audition for that one. It was a very small role, a few lines. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just growing over time and making connections and staying focused. And I think if you do that for a long enough period of time at a high enough level, I think you start to open doors for yourself.
Absolutely, Eric. You're speaking the same language that I have with that. And yes, do I have like peers of mine I'm happy for and a little jealous towards? Yes. But however, I've been building up this is my 11th year of doing my brand, my platform, even though it's year 3, the full year of the podcast. But like, I never imagined like talking to Howie Mandel before the launch of Canada's Got Talent this year, or sitting down with Amara La Negra, whose profile has skyrocketed in the music and in podcast industry, and same with Lulu and Lala, who just got off Amazing Race. So having these opportunities now come forward, and not to mention interviewing the past 2 winners of America's Got Talent, and also the 3rd winner of the Extreme, in the past 2 to 3 years. So I totally understand and totally know where you're coming from.
Yeah, totally. And that's awesome that you're doing that. I mean, and it just comes down to the same thing. Like, you just have to keep building something you believe in. And nobody's going to believe it as much as you do. And nobody should either. That's the other thing. I mean, it starts with you. And if you don't have confidence in what you're doing, I went on a podcast the other day, and it's something that's sort of being talked about a little bit now and in my social circle, and maybe a little bit on the outskirts of it too. And I was on a podcast, and someone asked me, a big comedian asked me, what's your goal? And I looked at them and I said, to be one of the biggest comedians in the country. And I kind of was even shocked that I said it, because it's something that's really bold and maybe something I should have said, shouldn't have said. You could make arguments for both, whatever. Maybe it came off too cocky or too whatever. But that is my goal. And I mean, if we can't be honest and open, and we can't have the confidence to believe in ourselves, then, and maybe if I was given another chance, maybe my phrasing would have been to hit my ceiling, to whatever my talent level is, I want to hit that maximum. And maybe that would have been the way I phrased it instead of the other way. But it all comes down to the same way of thinking, which is like, you need to believe in yourself. And I've just had too many people try to bring me down, and I've given up and sacrificed too much in my life, my personal life. Dude, I've lost so many. I mean, I've sacrificed a really loving long-term relationship for comedy, basically. I'm not saying you can't have both. You can. I know friends who do, but for me personally, where I am, I knew that comedy had to be my number one priority, and you can't be a very good partner when you have that mentality. And so I sacrificed that, and I sacrificed a woman, a loving relationship with a woman I really, really admired and was there and, cared about me. you know, and I've sacrificed friendships, and I've sacrificed time with my mom, with my brother, with good friends growing up for comedy. I've given it so much. And so for me to sit here and pretend like that isn't my goal is like ludicrous. I mean, so.
This is probably one of the most, I've been doing these podcasts since 2019, and this is by far one of the most honest podcast conversations I've had.
I appreciate that a lot. I try to be honest. I mean, I really do, for better or worse. And I try to be honest about my flaws and my fuck ups. But if you ask me, I'll tell you.
And this is and there are guests that I've connected with, that's taken along, but this is instant chemistry, my friend.
I feel the same way.
All right, so let's continue to talk about your special, because you did another thing that I think not a lot of comedians say, that you did another special, which is But Enough About Me, a Crowdwork special. So how did you create it from conception to the last joke and the audience applause?
Man, my comedy style has evolved, and this is something I didn't even know about myself. I mean, I love jokes. I'm obsessed with joke writing. I'm always thinking about the next joke I'm writing, the next concept, the next premise. I try it, doesn't work. I add a tag, I change wording, whatever. I edit, I re-edit. I'm obsessed with that process, and it's one of the things I love the most about stand-up. What I started to notice is that I'm also very good off the cuff, and hosting at the Comedy Cellar under circumstances that are also sometimes very hard. People are ordering drinks, people are just getting sat, they're not that focused yet, is one of the hardest jobs in comedy. You just have to, a real challenge. You have to really get these people to focus and pay attention and laugh and be ready for the show. And I will completely credit the Comedy Cellar for that, for my ability to do that the way I can, because they've given me so much stage time, and I feel so grateful for them. And so what's happened is, now that I headline around the country and I have my growing fan base off of social media, I'm now a hybrid of pre-planned joke writing and on the spot crowd work. So I decided, hey, I always love giving myself challenges. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try to be funny for 30 minutes, 35 minutes. It was originally 40, but editing and stuff, we edited it down to make it real tight and concise. Ended up at around 32. But I said, I'm not going to do a single joke. I'm like, I'm going out there. I don't know who's going to be in the front row. I don't know who's going to be in the crowd. We'll try to make it as funny as we can. And it turned out to be, I think, a huge success. I think people really had a great time at the show. And so I decided I'm going to put it out as a special. And it's so hard to say, because there's moments, there wasn't anything in the special that I've dealt with, I've had a couple videos go extremely viral, 19 million views or something, and maybe it was some crazy situation that I sort of discovered in the front row and unpacked it, and then it became this spectacle, a little. There was nothing in that special that was so insanely wild, but what I loved about it was I feel like it was a good representation of what I do when I'm talking to the crowd. And it had a real thematic story arc. I mean, there was a gay couple in the front row. I was messing with them for a while. And at the end of the special, I ended up singing with one of the guys from the couple, ABBA. We ended up singing Dancing Queen together at the end as the final act. And just sort of the way I started with them, and it looped back around to them. And I just was really happy. And I was like, oh my God, this feels good. And then it was another moment. There's sort of little Easter eggs in the special. My fan base, I did a story about 5 years ago. I was walking down the street on a Halloween night, and my only costume was I was wearing Hanukkah glasses, And I ran into this guy who had like a matching Hanukkah outfit, but he didn't have glasses, but it was the same design. And so I went up to him, and he's this guy, Roy, and he seemed super nice. And I go, dude, like, this is just crazy. Like, I have the glasses that are missing to your outfit. And so we took a picture together. And so his name's Roy, and you know, we started talking, and he was telling me how he was like going on dates. He's a gay guy. And he started talking about how he was going on dates and sort of seeing somebody or whatever, but nothing serious. And I wrote this whole bit about how, and I hadn't kept in touch with him. We were not linked up on social media in any way. I kind of regretted it. I was like, how did I not keep in touch with this guy? But I wrote a bit about him that I put in my first album, and it was about how it made me upset that I wasn't gay, because I felt like that would have been my soulmate. Like, I mean, what more beautiful story than that, right? And I was like, God damn it. So my stupid straightness got in the way. So he ended up, posted the bit on TikTok and Instagram. Somehow, just like the internet gods gave it to him on his feed, and he messaged me. He goes, dude, I'm Roy. And I go, dude, like, I've literally been thinking about you for 5 years. And so we kept in touch. We followed each other on Instagram. And then when I shot my special, But Enough About Me, in November, he came to the show, and he messaged me beforehand. He goes, I'm coming to the show. And I forgot that he was coming, but like, I guess like somewhere along the way, like halfway through my set, I was like, oh guys, I have a story to tell you right now. And I told the whole story I'm telling you, and Roy stood up, and he was wearing the same Hanukkah outfit that he was wearing when we met. And I brought him on stage, and we hugged, and it was just such a nice moment. And I got to tell you, Jacob, like, every city I go to where fans come out, one or two after a show inevitably always go, how's Roy doing? And I go, oh, like, you know, so I just think this is such a good, like, sort of like, just a little like thing for the fans, you know, that they now see that he came to the show and we had a moment where we reunited. So they were just like, if you're invested in my stand-up, and really, and I have some fans who are invested, like watch every video of mine, this is like a big moment for you too. So a real feel-good sort of like circle back moment. So there's just certain things about the special, like the moment at the end with the karaoke and the moment with Roy, and just a bunch of other various moments that really mean so much to me and make me really proud of it. And yeah, I mean, is it the best representation of my crowd work? I don't know. Maybe not the craziest things happened in that show that have happened in other shows, but as a sort of historical piece of my career, I'm really proud of it, and I'm happy we did it, and I hope people enjoy it. I really do. It's on YouTube for free, so.
That's incredible. Go check out go check out the special. And hi, Roy. Nice to meet you.
Oh, Roy will be in touch, Jake. He'll say hi at some point.
All right, so we got to start winding down our conversation because I have three final questions to ask you. During the pandemic, you embraced, because I'm a social media person, so you embraced Instagram and TikTok to engage your fan base. So what have been could you go over some of the strategies that you used over Instagram and TikTok to help expand your following?
I just stayed consistent. I consistently, on a daily basis, posted clips. And look, I have a lot of failure. I was telling a friend about this earlier today over breakfast. I said, you know, I fail a lot, and you might see my social media numbers and say, wow, he's doing great. Oftentimes I don't feel that way. To me, I feel like I'm as good as my last video. But I've had some big hits, and that's sort of what shepherded the social media following. And I appreciate so much, like, anybody who follows me and shares my videos. And it's just all about the people. And I'm nothing without it. So that's sort of I've just relied on the diehard fans to try to send them to other fans who hopefully become diehard fans. And it's just about consistency over time. And that's sort of what I'm aiming for.
Awesome. So second last question. If you had a chance to meet with aspiring comedians who are looking to advance in the comedy field, what advice would you share with them?
I would, and I feel very strongly about this, forget social media for their first few years of comedy, especially. go be the best comic you could be. Go to open mics, go to bar shows, grind it out, bomb, kill, do everything in between. Just work on the craft. Focus on the craft. That would be my advice.
Awesome. So last question. Are you ready for it, Eric? Eric, where can my audience find your work? And also, more importantly, where can they follow your adventures?
Please follow me if you're interested in what I've been saying or curious to see more of my work or any of it. Follow me on Instagram at I'm Eric Newman. That's IMERICNEUMANN, and the same exact username on TikTok. And I would love for you guys to check out my special on my YouTube channel. It's called But Enough About Me, and it's 32 minutes of crowd work. So, 2 minutes of singing, 30 minutes of crowd work. So, but I hope you guys enjoy.
Awesome, guys. Now, if you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our channels on Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and Spreaker. It's Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And like I told you, Eric, it is 11 years that Jake-Take.com is up and running.
I love that, Jay. Well, congratulations, man. And thanks again. Thanks so much for having me on.
You're so welcome, guys. And before you say turn off this interview, please consider heading to my PayPal page because it keeps Jake's Take and my platform up and running. If you're financially able to, awesome. If you're not able to, I totally understand. But please consider social media and please consider my downloading and subscribing to the podcast. Eric, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. This was a fabulous conversation. In fact, one of the best I've had in the past 3 years.
Oh, well, that means a lot to me, Jake. Thanks for having me on, man. It means a lot. I hope to see you soon and meet you in person and see you at a show.
Awesome, guys. You too, Eric. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great one, everybody. Adios.